Okay, in this lesson, we're going to practice estimating the area under a curve of odd shapes. So we know how to find the area of lots of shapes that we learned in geometry, like a circle, triangle, rectangle, things like that. But now we're going to practice finding the area under the curves of shapes that we're not familiar with. We're going to do that by using or finding the area of a geometric shape that we do know the area of. So the directions on this says sketch and shade representative rectangles using a width of 1/2 unit. Write an expected sum for the area and state the estimated area. So this is going to be just like the worksheet you have tomorrow in class. So right now all I want you to do is watch because you're going to have to do this on your worksheet. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw rectangles, and it says draw rectangles using a width of 1/2. All right, so I know here is 1, so I know that this right here is 1/2. This is going to be a rectangle. Here's my next rectangle right here. Okay, now here's the deal. When we draw these rectangles, we're going to use either what we call a left sum, a right sum, or a midpoint sum. Okay, so here's what that means. For a left sum, that means that the left-hand side of my rectangle has to touch the graph. So right here is my first point of graph. I'm going to draw my rectangle in, and there's my first rectangle that I'm going to find the area of. And I'm just going to shade part of this in so you see the rectangle. Okay, its width is 1/2, which is what it told me to do. Here's my next rectangle. Remember, the left-hand side of my rectangle has to touch the graph. So I'm going to draw my rectangle in. There's my next rectangle. Okay. My next rectangle, my left-hand side has to touch. So there's what it looks like. Okay, and I could shade that in. Here's my next one. My next one's going to look like this. Remember, it has to touch. So it doesn't have to be at a nice, neat point. This isn't going to be very neat, but you get the idea. This one would be here. Here's my next one. My next one touches here. Here's my next rectangle. Find my graph. Here's my last rectangle. So do you see that if I was trying to find the area under this weird looking shape, I don't know how to find the absolute or the actual area, but I can find a pretty close area just by using rectangles and finding the area of each of those rectangles and adding them up. Okay, so here's all these rectangles. So I don't know that we're going to find the area of all of these because I just want you to get the idea of what it looks like. But if I wanted to find the area of this rectangle, my base area of a rectangle is base times height or length times width. This base is 1/2. My height of this rectangle is 2. Okay, that was my first one. My second one, my base is 1/2. And do you see that the base for all of these rectangles is going to be 1/2? The height of this, do you see, is about 2.5? So I'll just write it as 2.5. The area of this third rectangle right here is 1/2 times my height, which is, it looks like what, 3 1/4 or 3.25, plus the area of the next one, I'm going to say is 1/2 times this point right here. It looks to be almost 3.75 since I went by fourths. It's not quite there, but I'm just estimating. And then I'm going to keep going and writing each area of each rectangle. And then to find the total area, I would add all these up, figure out what this is and add it up. So that's what the left sum looks like. All right, now on your worksheet, you're going to go ahead and finish. Write down all the sums. That's what it says, write an expanded sum. That's what this is. And then number 3, state the estimated area. You'd go ahead and add all these up and see what it's equal to. So that's the left sum. Let me show you what the right sum looks like. Same type shape, but this time I'm still using 1/2 as my unit. This time the right side of my rectangle is going to touch. So I know here's my base, 1/2. So I'm going to go up, find my graph, and this time the right side has to touch the graph. So there's my first one. My next one would be at 1, so I'm going to go out and find my graph. The right side. So you see the difference between the left side and the right side? This one would be here, go across. This one would be here. So all I want you to do right now when you're watching this is just basically see how you're going to be drawing your rectangles in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this one. Again, the right side has to touch. Here's this one. I shouldn't have drawn that part in, but that's okay. On this one, my right side is right here. This one, right side of my rectangle. And then the right side of my rectangle, do you see right here? There's the right side of my rectangle. So my last rectangle doesn't have any height because my right side has to touch. So there's all my rectangles. I could start finding the area of each of these rectangles and add them all up. Okay. The last one that we're going to talk about is where the midpoint has to touch. So if my base has to be 1/2, here's my entire base. My midpoint is right in the middle. So I'm going to go up and find where my midpoint will touch the graph and draw my rectangle. Okay, here's my next base. So I'm going to find the midpoint of that, go up and find my graph and draw my rectangle in. Here's my next base, so the midpoint of that, I'm going to go up and find it. So we did LRAM first, or my left sum first. Then we did my right side. Now we're doing the midpoint. Okay, and on your worksheet, they're going to have you do each one of those. So I just want you to basically figure out how you're going to draw your triangles, because finding the area of those triangles will be pretty easy. Base times height or length times width. You guys can do that. So I'm going to just finish drawing these with the midpoint touching the graph. Here's my midpoint right there. On this one, like I said, when I drew this graph, I probably shouldn't have gone in like that. That's concave in or convex. And then right here, midpoint would be something like that. Okay, and then I would find the area, my base, and my height of each one of these. Write an expanded sum for the area, so I'd write down the area of each of these rectangles, and then I would, for number 3, state the estimated area, add up all those areas. Okay, so on your worksheet tomorrow, you're going to have to find the left sum, the right sum, and the midpoint. It will also ask you to find the trapezoidal sum. You don't have to do that yet. Okay, we're saving that for later, but I just want you to find the left sum, right sum, and midpoint. Okay, and I will see you later.